Okay everybody, welcome back. This is Mog on Mog Squad, once more playing some Kerbal space program with you folks today. And today we're continuing our mission of the hunt for the dead space Kraken. We're going to be actually trying to land this thing this time instead of just, you know, hanging out in space and doing the whole refueling thing. But this has been an intricate mission. I'm glad you guys have been along for the ride. So we're still orbiting Jewel pretty far out. The mission now is to get out toward Bop. So how we're going to be doing this and how I'd like to do this is I'd like to figure out a way for us to rendezvous over this way, because it's going to take less delta V to push out this side, because it's closer, because it's kind of on an elliptic orbit a bit, Bop is, in comparison to Jewel. So if we can push out from the ascending node here, that area, out toward Bop this way, eventually, sooner or later, we might get an encounter, and that's the idea here. It's going to take a bit of delta V to do this, but I think it'll be a good run. So what we're going to do is, I think we're orbiting counterclockwise, I would imagine. Yeah, so I'm going to set up a node here at the ascending node and actually get our alignment set up, and then we'll be working on pushing ourselves out. So I'm going to come back to you guys once we're ready to push out toward Bop. So we're starting our alignment burn here. It's going to take about 1,000 delta V roughly. It was like 900 and some odd when we started it. But that's going to correct our 15% difference here. It's almost 15%, at least it was when I started the burn. I can't see it now apparently. Or maybe it was 1.5. No, it was more than that. No, was it? I don't know, whatever. Well, we're going to go ahead and get that fixed. No, it looks like it was probably about a 15 degree difference in inclination to our target. So we're getting that corrected, hopefully to a 0.0 degree difference, and then we're going to come back around to the other side and push out once we've actually got our inclination correct. Alright, so we've got our encounter set up. We waited a few, actually probably like 3-4 days for Bop to kind of come back around from its lengthy cycle out here and start to swing back around. Now we have an encounter that should work. It's going to require about another 1,000 delta V to get there. So we dropped about 2,000. We should have about 15. Well, we'll have 1,500 left in the 1,600 left in the tank roughly. Well, no, it'll be like 1,500 left in the tank when we get to Bop, which means we'll have to use some for capture. So this should be interesting. Now I'm gonna be trying to correct my actual apoaps here before we get there, so it's easier to so that we don't have to do as many correction burns. Basically, is what I'm trying to do here. So 300, that's better. Let's shorten that up just a hair if we can, which will require us to do some finagling. But I think we can get this down to a pretty good periaps on arrival. 195, that's not bad at all. Can we go lower? 122. I'm gonna go with that. We're gonna call that good. So around 122 on the will be our apoaps basically when we get to Bop, and then we're gonna push that out. No, that'll be our technical. Well, it'll be called our periaps. But I think technically, if we're looking at it from a Bop relative perspective, that would be considered our apoaps. Once we actually get into a circular as, no, it'd only be our apoaps, I guess, once we actually brought the periaps lower, obviously. So until we actually get a capture and start our descent, that'll actually be our periaps. No, that makes sense. I'm just looking at this backwards, so that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna zip around here and get ready to do our burn. So about a 4-minute 26-second will require 2 minutes 13 seconds on either side. So we're gonna wait for T-minus 2:13 is what we're gonna be after to start this burn, and then I'm gonna come back to you guys once we get out there. Okay, we've got our encounter. We've got it down to about a 91 kilometer periaps on Bop. So we're gonna be coming in. I was trying to mess around with like inclinations or our actually arrival trajectory to see if I could actually like warp it a little bit around it to pull it up into a more polar orbit without having to use too much fuel. I didn't notice a good way to do it. Maybe I can figure it out, but that's less of a concern. Once we actually get captured by Bop, it's such low gravity that it's such a slow orbit that it's actually pretty easy to to do maneuvers around. It doesn't take much fuel, so once we get there, we'll have more than enough fuel, I do believe, to actually land this thing and get it all corrected and get up to our base and get ready to do our mission. So let's go ahead and fast forward, and we'll get in here toward Bob and make sure. Whoa! Now I don't know which way we're going to be orbiting. That's less of a concern at this point, but still a concern that I was hoping to take care of before this. But you know what? Not a big deal. Not a big deal. We can get this. It's not going to be too tricky. Once we get here, this mission's pretty much cake. Well, I say that, but driving a rover is always dangerous. So let's take a peek here. There's Bob, little asteroid-looking thing, a little pummeled moon. So let's zip on in and get into the sphere of influence so I can get our node set up for our maneuver, and we'll call this good. Okay, actually that's pretty darn polar there. That's great. Okay, that's awesome. So let's zoom in. Let's set at our periaps, our actual capture burn. How much are we gonna need to burn? Okay, less than 1,000. That's good. We should have a decent amount left in the tank. So let's drop that thing. Yeah, we'll go down to like 35, 30, 37-ish, whatever. We'll call that good. Now, did I say... Yeah, this tank's the only one that's empty. These are pretty much topped off. I'll be able to transfer whatever we have left in this tank over here. Actually, I'll probably top off the outer tanks and then fill up in the excess in here, but all the same, I think we'll be pretty much fuel full once we get in there, it looks like. So awesome. I'm glad one refueler took care of it. We didn't have to use the other one we've got out here that I sent, that I figured initially was going to be the plan, my Bob drone refueler. In fact, I can... I'm going to show you that real quick, just so I can show you like what I actually put together for a refueler. It's very similar to the other one that we used from the station around Jewel, but this one is a bit more spruced up, a bit more ready to go. Has electricity generation from the get-go. So it's got the wings. It's got an orange tank, it's got RCS, well-placed thrusters, an array of docking nodes. It's got our juniors, it's got our normal-sized clampetrons, it's got a large clampetron in the back, it's got engine nodes out here for forward and backward momentum, and it's got passive solar arrays here that you don't have to extend, so regardless of where you are, sooner or later you will get a charge. SAS, large battery, drone, right there. It's got the neck to separate the node from everything, and it's got our satellite just because I thought it looked good. Anyway, that's the refueler that initially I was going to be using to refuel our ship to get it down to the surface, but looks like we aren't going to need it. I have some other plans for refuelers, and with the new large docking node here, making space trains is actually something I wanted to try to actually get fuel tanks out to places. So I might end up doing a set of those and bringing out a large docking node array to a few stations to actually give those kind of things a home, rather than having to have these smaller nodes there, because we can use these, and if we get some nodes set up, we can actually build stations with these, which are much more stable when you're docking things together, because it's a wider array. So it's obviously going to be a lot more stable. Anyway, let's go ahead and switch back out. Can we get to the rover? Damn you. Okay, we're going to the space station and come back once we get into the rover. Okay, we're back here with the rover, and I've set up the node to have us hit the south pole of Bob. Reason for this is once we get this capture in here and just skimming the surface with a crash, I'm going to detach our interplanetary stage. Switch over to these engines up here after refueling, obviously, and we'll be able to basically correct and get back into an orbit with these main engines. They're less efficient, but I don't think we'll need it all, and they're a lot easier to use on a planet like this because of their thrust to weight ratio. Like, they have a lot more push, and we'll have much more push when we get down to this last stage than these nuclears have. So let's go ahead and zip on in. We need about 800 delta V, which is going to take about probably 4 minutes, I would think. It's not calculating, but 1,000 takes about 5 with this cluster, I've noticed. So about 4 minutes is what I'm going to be shooting for. So T minus 2 minutes on our node here is what we're going for. So, I recently just started playing, well, last night I was bored watching, well, it was entertaining. We just started Breaking Bad, finally. Brittany's been wanting to do that for a while. I've been wanting to start Doctor Who, but that's just me. That's just me personally. We just finished Star Trek Next Generation just recently, so we were wanting to do a new show. And while we were watching that on her computer, I was playing Little Inferno, which is a goofy little game by the guys who made World of Goo, or at least I'm pretty sure it's the same guys. I was really surprised. The whole premise of the game is that you own this little thing called a Little Inferno fireplace, and you order things from a catalog, and you get letters from people, and you burn them in the fire, and that's the gist of the game. But I beat it in maybe a sitting, 5 hours roughly. Well, I say a sitting, but spread out through the day. It was about 5 hours worth of just tossing things into the fire. Surprisingly fun. I I might do a quick video of that for you guys, just to kind of show you what the game is, how it is, what it's set up doing, and I thought it might be a little fun. I might even, I mean, who knows? I don't want to make any promises, but if you guys end up liking it and thinking it's funny, maybe I'll do the whole game. I guess we'll see. But oh, I did not start my burn. I am yakking away and just talking nonsense. Thankfully, it was a 3-minute burn, so we're only about 30 seconds off. Whew. So you guys are probably like, dude, pay attention, and I'm sitting here rambling about a different game. I'm also wanting to do Kentucky Route Zero and Mark of the Ninja sooner or later, and I mentioned on my blog when I did the weekend update for last weekend that I wanted to that I might be ending up having to use my laptop for doing some recording, which isn't ideal. It's not as powerful as my desktop, obviously. It's just kind of a crappy Windows 7 desktop that I bought off an old boss because he was getting rid of it at a good price. But yeah, I mean, it's decent. It's running Windows 7. I can install Steam on it. I can run some games, but it's a laptop and it isn't a gaming laptop. So what I might do is, instead of playing games at like crappy graphics and things like that so that they'll run on the machine, I might actually just end up doing a bunch of indie titles and having fun with some indies. Mark of the Ninja, I think that's technical. Well, I mean to say like smaller arcade games, basically. Kentucky Route Zero is definitely indie. I've got a ton of indie games on my Humble Indie Bundle account. I've got a bunch of older games that would run probably just fine on my computer on my GOG account. And I've even got some on my Steam account that I might end up doing, so stay tuned for that. It's probably going to be closer toward winter. Once me and Brittany start carpooling into work, I'll have to sit around and wait for probably a few extra hours if she's still doing her overtime. So that was the idea, is since I'll be stuck at the office anyway and not wanting to really spend too much gas running 2 vehicles during the winter, and our car kind of sucks, I might just end up bringing in the laptop and doing some of that at the office. So I mean, let me know. Would you guys be cool with doing some lower cost games, like less AAA stuff, like BioShock Infinite and or XCOM? These higher graphic games. What did I just complete? Amnesia. Amnesia was fun, but that's it's a little more intense on the computer than say Mark of the Ninja might be. Maybe, I have no idea. I haven't even played that yet, but from the looks of things, that would be the case. Okay, so we're into our smashing orbit. And we're going to go ahead and transfer up some fuel. Top off the... Whoa, no, other way. Out of this tank. And we're going to fill this thing up. So in... How are we looking here? 700. Ouch. Fill up that tank. Do we have RCS on this lower stage? I don't think we do. I was going to say we could refill our RCS. I don't think we need to. I think it's pretty full. Yeah, it's full. Okay, so we don't even need to worry about that. So that's there. Let's take some fuel from here, from nowhere. Okay, so that's looking like all the fuel. Okay, so make sure we do this correctly. Detach. And kill rotation. Can we turn on my engines? There we are. Oh! Press 1, that was the landing legs. Whew. And 2 was all of our engines. Okay, cool. So we have that. Let's go prograde. And I'm gonna fire the engines just a little bit to separate us from the from the interplanetary stage so that when we turn around we're not facing it. And let's push back out that orbit. There we go. Easy as pie. Bye interplanetary, have fun smashing into the surface. Okay, so we are captured in Bop's orbit. We're going to go ahead and zip around and get this circularized a bit more. So I'm going to set a maneuver node down here, and, oh, not up there. And we're going to do some scouting. Well, this is in a pretty polar orbit. This should be fine for finding our space Kraken that we're after. And we're going to, well, I'm actually going to be landing at the base. I don't know what I'm talking about. Landing at the base is going to be the idea here. So we're gonna correct our orbit a bit so it's a bit tighter, and then we're just gonna basically wait until we're at a good position for this to pass under our orbit, and then we're gonna land. So I'm gonna come back to you guys once we get to that point. Okay guys, so we've got our orbit circularized. I've got a node set up down here on the south pole to kind of adjust our trajectory a little bit and then bring us down to about 17.5 kilometers above the base. What we're going to be doing about midway through this flight after we do this burn is we're going to be setting a node here roughly and then increasing our trajectory so like we're facing more this way, because this is right at the top and it's rotating like this counterclockwise, the base is, so it's actually moving away from us now at this point. So I need to bring this up a little bit so that we can actually arrive over top of it is going to be the plan. So let's zip on toward our node here, which should be pretty quick, down here at the south pole of Bop. And then we'll get ready to do this burn. It's not going to take long. It's about a 46 meter per second delta V burn. And just to give you an idea of what we can get away with, this takes 2 seconds at full throttle is what it's asking for. So it's a very, very efficient burn on such low gravity planets because it doesn't take much to change the way you're going. There's less force pulling on you in your current trajectory. So and we have like over 2,000 delta V in these tanks on this ship alone. So let's set our node here. Add this, and then what we're going to do is pull this direction to adjust that trajectory. So for people who, I mean, I'm sure you guys have been watching this for a while, but if you're still having trouble with understanding the nodes, your forward trajectory is always facing toward prograde. So you're pulling this to increase the speed of your ship this way. You're pulling this to decrease your speed. This, these two purple ones here eject. They do your upward and downward trajectory effectively, or well, I guess your, I don't know what you would call that. It's off to the sides. So like if you're trying to turn or change your inclination, these are going to be the ones to do it. The blues will pull you into like a tighter orbit without actually slowing you down. They just change the way you're facing, so it'll lower this, but because of that you'll gain speed coming in and be forced out further. Likewise, you can pull out this way so that you're pulling away from your current trajectory and you're coming out wider, but it'll bring you in closer down here is the idea. Unless you just go crazy with this, then it'll do some other things. But that's the gist of how I look at it. So let's set up our trajectory there, or to our node there, and get ready to burn this. So let's zip on up to this node, and then we're gonna get ready to land this thing pretty darn quick here. How long are we at so far? 15 minutes plus whatever's on my current video. Okay, I'm gonna come back to you guys once we get in there to do our landing. Once we start dropping. Okay, guys. Excuse me. Whew. Had to cough there. Well, we're coming in to our node here, and I've actually got a window set up in the cockpit view for watching my node time and stuff. So I might actually just watch it here and fly this part, or at least do a little bit from the in-cockpit view. So we are flipped upside down, as you might notice here, but we're going to go ahead and zip on into this node. It's going to require about 55.9 meters per second delta V to do this node correction. And we have tons. This is going to bring us down below 2K in the tank, but that's way more than enough we need to actually do this. So let's go ahead and start this burn, and we can watch this countdown here. So instead of having the graphic bar, we have the time till node and the delta V required, and then our time frame to get there. So let's crank that up, because I didn't use enough thrust, it looks like. And there it goes. That is pretty good. Let's kill that rotation, get rid of this. And as you can see, we're pretty well centered over our base, for the most part. We're a little off, but not too bad. So, let's go ahead and get rid of that. I'm going to pop back out to our main view, just because it's so much easier to land things like this. Christ. Let's zip over to retrograde, and get ready to start doing our burn. So as you might notice, there is some debris here, and it looks like it says it's from Science Rover 1. What's with that? That is the test run I did to make sure that the ship functioned properly, and I had way too much fun with the RCS tanks, using them as boosters and jump jets on this thing, and I destroyed this first rover I did. It broke pretty spectacularly. I'm gonna zip back up in here, focus on the Science Rover. Okay, fine, I won't. Be like that, Rover. Be like that. So we're zipping on in. We're getting close. I'm gonna speed this up. And there's our base. I'm gonna try to land this thing within 2 kilometers. So if I tilt more this way, fire those engines, and start dropping us. So that slowed us down a bit, and we should be landing within 1 kilometer, I would imagine. So let's zip that over and just get off there. Stop doing the rotate. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna come in pretty well here. So I'm gonna flip over, and we're gonna start using some small bit of thrust to bring ourselves to a halt. And okay. How are we looking? We're under 10 kilometer. We're under 100 meters up. So I'm gonna try to bring this down smoothly and as close as possible to our old one, or to our base, because we would like this. It would be great if we could just land it at the base. And no, we're still moving, so I want this view, so I'm gonna flip this thing back over. No, don't use it just yet. And I'm actually gonna turn on the brakes too, so that we're not gonna land with our tires spinning. Okay. I'm glad we have some landing lights on this thing. That should help a lot. Well, I guess they're not really landing lights, they're just spotlights. Though I guess there are some lights that kind of point down-ish. So there's our forward ops base. That's going to be where we have our current crew, with Captain Okabe. He's going to come in here and join these guys for the missions here on Bob, exploring the dead space Kraken, because who knows, this could be the start of a horrible Kerbal horror film. A B-rated Kerbal horror film. With the dead space Kraken not being dead. Dun dun dun! Okay, stab it. Stab it. This thing has so much thrust, even at just like a tiny little bit, it corrects so much, so we just have to pulse it to actually land it. Or I could, not be dumb, and I could shut off. I'm gonna get some more altitude, gain some speed, that is. Is that this one? Yes. Yes, okay, so we're down to 4 engines instead of 6. Oops, oops, oops. Right. Oh, that one's just freaking out because it thinks it's still on. Shut that down. Okay. That should be a little easier to handle. So let's bring this thing in for a landing, and I want to get it close so that, the bases aren't too far apart. They're both occupiable, so I don't want to make these Kerbals travel too far to get to their rover. If I can help it. So we're going to bring this in nice and easy. No, keep going forward, keep going forward. Alright, just about there. Coming in. Alright, guys, we have touchdown, looks like. Oh, it's passing through the ground. Passing, no, that's just me. Okay, there we go. We have touchdown. Now, I'm going to go ahead and flip this thing around just a hair, so that the entrance, at least, is facing the other side. Because I want the entrances to be kind of facing one another. Just so it looks okay, you know? I'm about the aesthetics. I like the aesthetics. So let's do that. Nope, stop it. It's too much, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that'll be fine. Okay, that's not how you want to do these, guys. You don't want to land on top of your current ships. That is not the way that you're supposed to land craft. That's the irresponsible way. But this looks good. There we go. That's a very close landing. That is alright by me. That should be more than enough to get our guys in there. So let's shut off our engines. And I have to do these last two by hand, it looks like. Shut down. And shut down. So we have landing, guys. Don't want to press 1. What's 3? 3, I think, is the lander legs there. I'm gonna quick save it in case I break something. Because one of these does these landing legs, the gears for the rover, which freak out when they hit when it's attached. So 0 deploys all of our satellites. Okay, cool. That's exactly what I was after. Cool. So we've got our communications array set up, and let's go ahead, deploy our ladders, and get ready for Okabe to come down here to his new rover. So EVA, jumping Okabe out. You're going to be setting foot on Bop, buddy. Alright, welcome to Bop. Let's turn on that your lamp lights and get ready to watch your rover, because we are about to detach. Shut off that. Away with you. Away with you. And I need to get ready to switch to it. Oh boy. Okay, let's bring that out of there. And away from that node. Alright, so we have our rover all in position. Okabe, let's jump you in, buddy. And we're gonna grab 2 more crew to do this mission with us. So board up, and okay. So Okabe, you're gonna be running the pilot seat. Who can we grab? There's some of the debris. Oops, you guys probably don't want to see that. Who do we got up top? Major Tom, Jebediah, and Worman. Neil Wig. Let's take Major Tom, since you know he's a champ, and we're gonna take one of the other red shirts. I hope you caught the reference. Probably, maybe, who knows. So Major Tom, you are gonna be one of our science officers. Nope, you're gonna be our security officer. We'll call you security officer. And we should take Worman. They lose grabbing right there, so maybe there's something wrong with the grasping there. I need to figure that out. And then this guy's gonna be our science officer. The other guy's just our pilot. Okabe, you're the pilot. You're our fearless leader pilot. Okay, board. And alright, so whoops. We're gonna do some scouting, see if we can find this space kraken. All right, guys. So on our long-range scanners, you can see the debris fields from the science rover and where its final resting place came to be, down here. Now, I've also just come to realize, dun dun dun, we can pick up the space kraken on our long-range scanner, aka our camera movement. And there it is. There's the space kraken. So we're a ways away, guys, but let's see if we can figure this one out. So right here, if we do a triangle, you can see the little discoloration there from this rover. That's about the approximate direction we're going to want to go. So let's zoom back in here and take a look at which way we're going. It's pretty much the same direction from the way this is facing. So we'll head that direction, and then we'll be getting ready to do our rover maneuver each. Okay, so we're on here. Let's shut off these brakes and get moving. This is gonna be a tight fit in the garage, tight fit. How are we looking on fuel? Full fuel. We've got our science crew, and I'm gonna deploy all the tools and stuff on this here momentarily. Once we get out to a little bit of a safe distance, and I'm gonna try to keep this not going too fast, because I want to keep my Kerbals alive if I can help it. Because moon travel is difficult without the gravity and without the atmosphere to help slow things down. It becomes very dangerous very quickly. So we've got that deployed. Let's turn on this, our grav meter. This guy's probably not going to do anything. A barometer in a vacuum, yep. And our accelerometer is a little bit there. Let's kick out our communications array so that the guys here at the base can keep talking to us. And we'll kick out our solar panels so that we can keep our batteries charged. So as you can see, got two big batteries here, so 400, 400, another two here, 400, 400. We have 1600 units of energy to run our thing with. We have RCS, we have a probe body in here. If it really came down to it, we could control it remotely. We've got our mono there, and we've got a ton of RCS thrusters underneath this thing that can be used for balancing and or jumping over obstacles if ever needed. But I'm going to deploy our legs to protect our Kerbals from the rigors of rover travel. And we're going to get moving. Now, I'm going to come back to you guys once we get out closer to the Kraken, or in case something crazy happens. But I'm going to try to keep this nice and steady, so it's going to be a bit of a boring trek. And this is already a pretty long video. We're over 30 minutes already, so I'm going to do this as cleanly as possible. I'll see you guys at the Space Kraken. Alright guys, I just wanted to share this with you. Really cool view, I thought, when I was driving over here. We're maybe a quarter of the way down to the area we're trying to get to. But I thought this was a cool shot. Shot of the sun. I think that's Tylo. Right there, there's a little moon, and then Jewel off in the distance. Pretty sure that's Tylo. It would be one of the closer moons to Bop here, and probably easier to view than any of the others, I would imagine, except for maybe the one on the outside, whatever that one is, Pole, but that one's tiny. So we're getting pretty close to actually being out of juice on here. So we might get to the top of this crest here and rest for the night. So we're going to meet you when we get over there. Okay guys, thanks for sticking around this long. I know we're not at the Space Kraken just yet, but we're going to call it for this episode, and we're going to carry on where we left off here in tomorrow's episode. So until then guys, cheers.